Well, hi everyone, and greetings from Northern Michigan. This is Bob the Science Guy. Today I'm starting a new series on Mr. Eric Dubay. Now, one of the things that I've tried to do when I look at the flat earth is identify some of the techniques that they use. Today we're going to have a look at the technique of projection. Now, this is a defense mechanism used by the flat earth to try and justify that it's not them with the problem, it's us, the rest of us, the people that actually believe in reality. We're the ones that have the issue. Now, recently Eric Dubay put this video out on anti-flat earth defense mechanisms. And this is a great example of projection on the part of the flat earth. And Eric Dubay, he's kind of the leader of the flat earth movement, so it makes sense that he would put this out. This is to reassure his followers that it's not them with the problem. They're not the minority here. They all have it right. It's the rest of us projecting our own inadequacies when we debunk their silly claims. So let's go ahead and have a look at Mr. Eric Dubay and what he has to say about anti-flat earth defense mechanisms. We'll cue up the music and get going.
Let's talk about these anti-flat earth defense mechanisms the vast majority of people seem to have. The first one is the term flat earth itself. When people hear that word, or they hear you questioning the globe model, the moon landing, or anything of that sort, they go, "Wait a minute, you're not a flat earther, are you? You're a flat earther, aren't you?" With this condescending, all-knowing tone, as if you accept this label, you've been pigeonholed, and anything you say afterwards holds no value. And why is this? Because of websites like the Flat Earth Society, giving misinformation and strawman arguments, and mockumentaries like Behind the Curve, showcasing the worst examples of so-called flat earthers for everyone to laugh at.
Well, let's go ahead and just kind of unpack this. Now, what he's starting off with is he's playing into the sense of inferiority of the flat earthers. When they announce that they're flat earthers, people laugh at them, and with good reason. So what he has to do is say that, look, even though everybody is laughing at you, you're still right. For some reason, the term flat earther has been hijacked by the Flat Earth Society and these documentaries that are put out on prominent flat earthers to make them look foolish. Well, you don't really need the Flat Earth Society or documentaries to make flat earthers look foolish. The fact that the earth is a sphere and it's apparent to anybody over about the age of 8 does that just fine all on its own.
So now, you're guilty by association if you admit that you're a flat earther. I'll use the flat earth keyword for the algorithm because it's what everyone searches for. But I named my children's book The Earth Plane, and we named our movie Level, purposely creating quote-unquote flat earth content without this pigeonholed label.
Now, of course, I started to have a look at the movie Level. And what I found was that it was just a classic reiteration of all of the typical flat earth arguments dating back to Robotham. The earth appears flat to me. Space is fake. Gravity doesn't exist. These are all things that are really just kind of foolish ideas because they're easily falsified. And as I said, they're easily falsified by anybody over the age of about 8. Now, what he's referring to here is the fact that YouTube and other social media outlets came under pressure to try and stop some of this false information, this fake news that seems to permeate the internet. And what they did was they basically labeled things like moon landing denial, anti-vax, and flat earth with information snippets that you could go to find out the true information about these issues, rather than just rely on a YouTube video. And as a result of that, YouTube video viewership of flat earth topics has gone down. Now, another reason for that is that they stopped making that a suggested video. So even though they're not blocking the searches for flat earth information, they're not suggesting it. Now, what Eric's talking about here is the efforts on the flat earth community to avoid being associated with flat earth because they don't want this hit in the algorithm. Now, we're just as guilty of that as they are. One of the problems you have as a debunker is that if you debunk flat earth, they lump you in with the people that are proponents of the flat earth in the YouTube algorithm. So many of us have avoided using the term flat earth in our names or in our video descriptions. So I don't really have an issue with that. We're doing the same thing. But this just goes to show that they are aware of the fact that YouTube and other social medias are cracking down on fake news, and they're trying to find ways around it.
So, of course, among other globe skeptics, level earthers, whatever you want to call us, we can accept that we are flat earthers. But when your friends and family members or strangers on the street you're trying to convince hear a bit of your skepticism and then ask, "Oh, you're a flat earther, aren't you?" I recommend doing as Del from Beyond the Imaginary Curve does, and insisting that no, you're not a flat earther, because the earth has mountains, hills, and valleys, so of course the earth's not flat.
Now, this is a very typical defense mechanism that the flat earth uses as well. What they do is you make a statement about flat earth, and they try and deny it by using a different meaning of the word. So we all understand what we're referring to with the term flat earth. It's that the earth is not a sphere, it is a flat plane. Yes, it has elevations and such, mountains and sea bottoms, but it is a flat plane as opposed to a spherical object. So what they're doing is they're ignoring the main argument or the use of the term and saying that, well, the earth itself really isn't flat because we have mountains. Not only doesn't it make any sense, it's in line with other flat earth defense mechanisms. For example, have you ever noticed that flat earthers say, we don't have a model? Now, is that because they haven't existed on Earth as long as people that believe in the globe have existed on Earth? You know, mankind's 50,000 years old. They had the same amount of time that we did. We actually paid attention to evidence and learned about the shape of the Earth. They're claiming that all of a sudden they started looking at the shape of the Earth in 2014. They just haven't had time to make a model. But the real reason is that they don't want to present a model because then they would have to defend that model against falsification. And quite frankly, any model that involves a flat Earth can easily be falsified. So what they do instead is they try and argue against the globe.
The Earth has mountains, hills, and valleys, so of course the Earth's not flat, thereby disarming their first anti-flat Earth defense mechanism, because you don't admit to being their straw man version of a globe skeptic, what they have seen in mockumentaries or on the Flat Earth Society as a flat earther. No, you're not that. You're just a man or woman like anyone else, questioning their reality, questioning what they're told, not just believing outright what the government or government organization says.
Okay, so here's the next defense mechanism that we see from the flat Earth classically, and that is the misuse of logical fallacies. First of all, logical fallacies really are not part of this discussion. They're just thrown in to try and disrupt the conversation and the presentation of evidence by people who actually understand reality. Now, a straw man is to rephrase my argument and then argue against the rephrased argument. You're not addressing my argument directly. You're making your version of my argument. And then you always leave a hole in that argument so that you can disprove it somehow. A hole that was not present when I put my original argument out. The next thing is he's appealing to flat earthers as being skeptics. Now, skepticism is a good thing to have in science. You don't necessarily believe everything that you hear. You don't believe everything you hear in social media. You should be able to at least look into it a little bit and check for it. If an event supposedly occurred in Detroit, Michigan on this day, you can go to the Detroit News and check that day and maybe the next day. If it was as important as the Facebook meme made it out to be, surely it would have been mentioned in the social media. If you don't find any reference to it at all, that leads to a lot of suspicion as to whether or not it actually occurred. Now, the other component of skepticism is that you have to actually look at and respect evidence. That does not occur in the flat earth. We can show film photographs of the spherical earth from Apollo 17 from 1972, long before Photoshop came out. They'll dismiss it as photoshopped. They will dismiss it as fake. Any evidence of gravity or space has to be faked because the mere existence of gravity and space disproves the idea of a flat earth. So it's not true skepticism because skepticism respects evidence. Flat Earth does not respect evidence. Flat Earth has a conspiratorial narrative that they have to follow, and they will follow that narrative at the expense of the truth. Now, this is the first of 5 episodes on Eric Dubay's projection of flat Earth inadequacies onto the globe Earth proponents. Now, this episode we talked about the wordplay that's used by the flat Earth. In our next episode, we're going to answer that question, why would they lie to us? Now, Eric seems to have a problem with this, but let's go ahead and explore that a little bit more. Now, one other thing that I would like everybody to do, if you could make a mention in the comments, I've got a new camera and I've got a new microphone. Let me know how that's worked out for you. So, this is Bob the Science Guy signing out from Northern Michigan. Take care, make sure you hit that like and subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you for the next episode next week.